Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Sean McDaniel and I'm a senior professional video evangelist with Adobe. And I'm so excited to welcome you to today's digital event, Create, Iterate, and Refine Video Content with Generative AI. Now, just a couple quick notes to get us started. First, yes, this event will be recorded and you will receive a link to reply in your email after the event, or replay, I'm sorry. And second, we want to hear your questions. So drop your questions into the question mailbox in the top right-hand corner of On24 for a chance to have them answered live by our guests. And finally, there is more to this experience that we can share on air. So check out the resources we have linked for you just below my video. And when you click on the book icon, you'll receive that information. And any other questions you have during the event, put them in the question mailbox, and one of our Adobe experts will get back to you with an answer. Now, I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. So, custom footage has been the gold standard for creative teams, from filmmakers and marketers to educators and content creators. But let's face it, traditional video production is time consuming, labor intensive, and hard to scale, especially when content demands keep growing and timelines keep shrinking. But that's changing. Adobe's Firefly and Firefly services are built to support creative professionals while unlocking new levels of scale and efficiency for businesses. They're helping accelerate the creative process and evolve it by bringing creative automation into the flow, allowing teams to do their best work while keeping up with their ever-growing demand for new video content. Now, in case you missed Image Model 4 at London Max, it stole the show with its impressive images, improved details, and spectacular images of people. And we announced the Firefly video model, the industry's first IP-friendly, production-ready video model that enables creators to generate high-quality 1080p video clips from text prompts or even images, and then fine-tune those with ease. Our Adobe Firefly services are bringing AI directly into content production workflows, and Firefly service is a set of over 30 different generative AI and creative APIs that can be integrated in virtually any workflow. So creative teams can automate repetitive, time-intensive tasks like adjusting framing or resizing assets for multiple platforms and accelerate that time to market, all without sacrificing quality or creative control. Now, let's dive into how these new models and Firefly services are changing the economics of video creation and why it's never been easier to move on from idea to impact faster than ever before. And here to be one of our guides is Kevin Taus. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Taus. I'm the Director of Product Management for Video here at Adobe, and I'm so excited to show you how generative AI and creative automation are transforming the way teams are bringing their video ideas to life. Whether you're leading a marketing, brand, or a creative operations team, these tools and services we're going to explore today are designed to help your teams meet an ever-growing demand for video content, increase engagement of your audiences and with their stakeholders, which we can result in scaling your business needs and brand content without sacrificing the quality or that creative intent.
I love hearing it. So I do want to kind of jump right in, but video, as you know, is more critical than ever for audience engagement. So what are the core operational or strategic challenges that have made it so difficult for businesses to scale video content effectively?
Sean, it's crazy. Video is one of the most powerful tools in audience engagements we've ever seen. It combines the emotion of storytelling and visuals to create an impact that engages in other ways that other mediums cannot. In fact, when you look at these numbers, 64% of consumers prefer video to learn more about their brands, and 86% boost in conversion rate on web pages, and 95% of companies are investing more in video every single day. And when we look at this slide here, video has traditionally been a very high cost, high risk investment for businesses. Traditional workflows are often slow, expensive, and very difficult to scale. There are also creative risk factors, as edits and updates often mean delays and reshoots and ballooning costs. But for budgets, these legacy tools and workflows don't support the fast iteration or the real-time feedback or the scale.
So with all of that information, as expectations around video content volume and velocity, they grow over time. How is generative AI starting to reshape how businesses think about those creative operations?
I love the conversations at our recent Adobe Max conference where AI was the centerpiece of the whole equation. And more, we're seeing companies embrace the concept of AI into their creative workflows. We know that creative teams can explore more exponential visual ideas in early concepting. And the concepting piece is something we see AI really taking a hold on. Early alignment between the creative teams and the stakeholders will reduce the need for those expensive reshoots. Additionally, generative AI tools can help teams meet the demand while saving time and resources while producing the same level of content at a scale that's just beyond human scale. And this gives the teams the capacity to move on to their next projects and allowing them more time to be creative.
So then, what role does upfront creative visualization play in reducing the back and forth, production inefficiencies, or even having to do reshoots like down the line?
Yeah, it's amazing what the opportunity and the potential is. And I don't think any of us really understand the grand scale of it all. But what we're seeing is that people are using Firefly to quickly turn these scripts into visual mock-ups and storyboards. They test concepts before committing to those high cost productions. And finally, we're seeing these cut downs of creative misalignment to boost creator and stakeholder confidence in the outputs.
So then, my other question is how does using generative AI early in the creative process, like mood boards or storyboards, change the equation in terms of time, effort, and team resources?
Yeah, and anybody in a creative process knows that the moment you have a creative brief or a script, moving that into a visual treatment that you can communicate with your creative teams is absolutely the most important piece before you start making all those bigger investments in cameras and production shoots and locations and transport. But AI-powered mood boarding and storyboarding is really critical for alignment. It allows teams to generate multiple visual directions from a single prompt, right? So that you can actually visualize the script and communicate that to your creative teams. It allows you to lock in things like tone and visual language and allows the creative direction early to start manifesting on the screen. Finally, from a marketing point of view, it allows us to align marketing and brand and creative leads within hours or even minutes, but not weeks. And that saves time.
So as teams move from early concepts into execution, alignment's always tricky, getting feedback, getting, all of your multiple stakeholders involved and collecting all of that. How do creative teams or how can creative teams keep the review process efficient and collaborative without, slowing things down a bit?
Collaboration is key. I mean, video is a team sport. Right?
Yeah.
Anybody who's done anything in video knows that you can't just do it by yourself. So having solutions like Frame.io's review and approval processes allows for that real-time engagement and feedback, not from just the creative teams, but the creative brief or from other stakeholders that are contributing as part of it. That is the critical piece to get that feedback fast and review it quickly. Tighter review loops, allowing faster sign-off so that creative teams aren't waiting around for feedback on a specific sequence, and centralizing that collaboration into one location allows everybody to kind of contribute into one spot. Allowing these things to work together reduces the delays that are typically caused by either miscommunications or different collaboration systems and just the scattered feedback that goes everywhere.
Yeah, Frame.io has saved me in many, many scenarios. Even just sending files across the globe are very, very easy and fast with Frame. So I'm a big fan. So I'm glad you brought that up. So how does Firefly enhance execution speed then by integrating seamlessly with these tools that they already use, or do they have to do a complete process overhaul? How does that work?
That's a great question. And I think the real power that we can at Adobe do is integrate these Firefly experiences and these outputs into the creative tools that creatives use every single day, right? And this reduces the time for them to understand how how generative AI can be implementing inside of their existing workflows. So I'm going to show you a few things here. We're going to start with a video that you see on the screen. In this video, you're going to see a play where you have an object in the scene, and we love the scene, we love the color, we love the tone, we love how it plays out. but you're going to see an object switch where we actually take a physical hand and switch a switch, and we're going to replace that with generative AI. So let's go ahead and roll the tape. And what you'll watch here is watch the screen here. So there's the hand, it's throwing the switch. We love the way that scene comes together, but we don't want them throwing the switch. So using generative AI, we added a new video using an image to video prompt. And we're, instead of throwing the switch, we're pulling a plug. That is powerful stuff. So we can continue the continuity of the scene, and the lighting and the quality, and all works. My next one, yeah, there it goes again. So the switch, and let's pull the plug, and that was the original footage. Now we're going to use a generative video, and we're going to pull the plug. Here it goes. Right? Looks amazing, right, Sean?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to show you is another scene where we have a typical text on black placeholder where we're asking the creative team to add some B-roll or some additional footage. So we're going to run the reel again here, and we're going to play and watch where the placeholder is. You can see it on the timeline. And we're going to use AI to generate some B-roll so that we can actually show what we as a creative direction want to communicate. So as we play this out again, the new generative AI B-roll video will play in here. There it is. Looks amazing, right? And because it's in Premiere, you have all the capabilities inside the tool to be able to do color grading or match the scene and just make it look amazing. And you can either use that footage in your final output, or you can use it as a pre-visualization to your creative team and VFX department. My next demo here is more of a visual effects approach, where we have an actor who is looking at a scene or looking out at a window, and we want to take that scene and actually show that zooming back, pulling back into what is a snow globe. Now, that's a very difficult thing to demonstrate, with line drawing or text. So we're going to use Gen AI to produce this pre-visualization of the visual effect. And again, let's roll this again and watch the pan out. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that amazing? That looks exactly what we want to do from our creative brief. And we can either choose to use that in our final output, or again, send that to our VFX department. But we can actually use the generative AI to control what the scene looks like, the lighting, and muse on that before going into expensive visual effects. So my last one is something I'm really excited about, is using generative AI in a way you might not have realized. We can actually produce effects with generative AI. So in this example, you can see the snow flying over the scene, and this snow was actually generated by Firefly. So when we look at the mask here, the snow, we actually did the prompt and we generated the snow, and then we overlaid or blended the video on top of the original footage to show the snow as an effect. Now, this saves a ton of time, because historically, users would have to go out and look for a filter or look for an effect, and that's just right, make sure the license is there. With Firefly, because they can just prompt it and they know the license is clear, they can actually just add it right into their edit. So Sean, what do you think of that?
I love it, especially when we showed the shot of the landscape of the being on the moon or wherever we're at in this piece. I can't tell you any times that I would have to go through stock footage, find those clips, then recolor correct them to match the footage that I already have, and it just takes a lot of time. And it's almost like you have this unique custom view, and it takes the reference of the images that you feed it to really tailor it to the imagery and the look of your piece without adding any extra work. So I think it's incredible. But I do want to ask, though, I know we want to keep on time, but once the final video is complete, can you walk us through how Firefly services can help teams, efficiently scale and adapt that content across different channels and regions?
Yeah, and this is where it gets really difficult for a lot of creative teams, because we find that teams are in the creative zone producing this wonderful content, and then they're being asked to produce this content across multiple different shapes and forms and form factors, as well as different languages. So as you mentioned in the opening, we have over 30 APIs today in the Firefly services. And today we're going to focus in on video, because that's my specialty, and specifically video automation, to generate a bunch of variants to scale the needs, or to scale the content that meets the needs of the marketing department or the distribution. So we're going to talk about three key APIs here. The first one is a reframe API, and this allows us to maintain the video and brand integrity across different form factors. And we'll walk through a couple examples, but if it's a 16:9 moving to a 9:16, so landscape to portrait, we're going to show you how that works. The next piece that we find a lot of customers spend a lot of time on is localization, right? And we want localization because that's what increases the audience expansion or customer reach. So worldwide marketing efforts have allowed us to increase the need for efficient localization, but we got to do this faster, right? We got to do it with high quality and at scale. And the final piece I'm really excited about to introduce for the first time is text to voice. And just today, we're releasing new technology that allows you to create dynamic audio content by turning a script into spoken speech. But let's start with diving a little bit into saving some time on reframing videos. So let's go to the next slide. This example here really highlights what is happening here. So typically, creative teams will take a master output coming from typically Premiere Pro, and then be able to take that 16:9 and they will mastercraft every single pixel and go through the different reframing. What we have with the Reframe API is the ability to ingest that master source of 16:9 and allow the Reframe API to identify a subject and then unlock on that subject through different framing. So if you look at the bottom row here, on the 1:1, you can see it's a different framing than the top one at the 16:9, but then you go all the way to the right-hand side, which is a vertical 9:16 video, and you can see the content of the video is different, but this lock on the subject is clear. Right? So the challenge here that we're solving for is that manual reframing is time-consuming and really not creative work. The variations that allow us to preserve that output is really critical, right? And that's where we want to make sure that the subject is locked, the intention of the video is not lost. Finally, when we have multiple clips within a single video, so you might imagine a fast-moving marketing video, we actually do scene analysis. So every time the clip changes or the scene changes, we reset the reframe algorithm. And that allows us to reframe clip over clip. And finally, we're not showing it here, but we actually can do motion graphics or static graphic overlays on top of the video and reflow those graphics on top of each output. So we're really excited about Reframe. This is going to save creatives a ton of time and allow the creative time to spend, elsewhere.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you don't realize that when you output, one video, you've got to format that for so many different things. And later you realize, oh man, we can actually put this on social. So it's a whole process to reframe that, put that together. So I can imagine this saving a ton of time for editors and spitting out the output a lot quicker. But you did mention something about localization. So I want to jump into that because we all know one of the most resource intensive things, but also very necessary in video production is localization. So, it's usually a cost of re-editing region-specific versions or, delays caused by long turnarounds. I know when I worked at BuzzFeed, we had to get comments done by a separate company. So we had to actually send out the video. They would send a transcript back. It would take 24 to 48 hours, and it costs money every single time you do that. So sometimes you'd even consider not translating or not getting captions because of cost ideas. So, and that's what I'm most excited about with this next API. So can you tell us a little bit more about how Firefly can help these teams localize content more effectively and efficiently, but what kind of business impact can that really unlock?
You did a great job of teeing up the problem, Sean. And, I think localization is an absolute critical process, but you got to get it right. Because if localization goes wrong, you could actually be, saying the wrong message. So the quality is really, really important to get right. Absolutely. So this next API, the Translate Video API, allows us to do a couple really interesting things. It takes the original voice of a presenter. In this case, we're going to use Carl, who's a colleague of mine. And it allows us to not only understand what this person's saying, but then we translate that. We can translate this into 15 different languages, either way. So if the actor starts in French, we can go to English. If it goes to English, we can go to Chinese. If we can go start with Japanese. So this is a really powerful tool, and the quality is just amazing. We can't wait for people to try it. But we go one step farther, because it's not just about translating the video, it's also about having the performer act in the same tonality, with the same language, with the same voice and the same mannerisms, in that language. So we're going to show you a reel here shortly where we take Carl, who's a native English speaker, and he's one of our evangelists on the video team, and we're going to translate him into 2 or 3 different languages and show you the power of this capability. So let's roll the reel and let's listen to Carl translate into different languages. Go ahead.
This video series is designed to teach Premiere Pro in a way that resonates with people coming from other nonlinear editors, such as Media Composer.
Aber keine Sorge, wenn Sie von einem anderen Ende kommen, werden Sie immer noch einen großen Wert darin finden, sich diese Videos anzusehen. Con suerte, verás que tus habilidades de edición se traducirán sin problemas en Adobe Premiere Pro y podrás conservar la mayor parte de tu memoria muscular. Une partie de cela se fait en passant à Premiere Pro, ce qui implique de personnaliser les écrans, les mises en page, les raccourcis clavier pour qu'ils s'adaptent à la façon...
So we're going to pause there. Carl likes to keep going, so we're just going to kind of pause him a little bit. He'll keep talking in different languages. But Sean, what do you think of that? How's your Danish?
It's great with this API for sure. But otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start. So, and also it picked up the inflection of his voice really, really well. So, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it tracks right to his voice. So if it was a different sounding person, the translation actually, translates that into his or her own voice, and it's absolutely amazing to watch.
Agreed. So it's amazing to see how much easier it's becoming for teams to localize video content. What used to be a major hurdle has now become a strategic advantage for reaching global audiences faster and more effectively. So we talked about how localization has historically been, and time and cost and heavy lift it is, and how Firefly services are enabling businesses to remove that friction. But there's a brand new feature that I want to finish on. Adobe just announced the text-to-voice API. Kevin, can you walk us through what this new API does and how it can be applied to localization and beyond?
I'm really excited about this API, Sean. And what, if you imagine being able to generate a voiceover for either a marketing ad or even internal company communication, or an explainer video for a product that you're trying to sell, generating the script is one piece of the equation, but having a voiceover that is authentic, that is genuine, that's emotional, that actually helps you tell the story is absolutely critical. And, we have a lot of really great opportunities here to, help customers really, do a lot more with video with voiceovers. So this allows teams to now transform scripts into natural language speech in just a couple clicks. And one of the biggest values of this API is its flexibility, and the timeliness of video and the currency of video changes, day over day. Something might change. So the voice can be tailored to fit the message because we're on different types of gender or age or regionality, language, accent, speaking style, and emotion. These are really important to get this text right or the speech right from the text. So I'm going to run another reel here, and this is a purely text-to-speech example where we've written the script. I actually stole some of your script, Sean, and you can hear a couple of our voices, parallelize those scripts into this short sequence. So let's run this. Let's run the reel.
To help creative teams to meet content needs at scale,
Adobe Firefly Services offers a powerful collection of over 30 generative AI and creative APIs,
which bring Adobe's AI directly into content production workflows. Businesses can now automate repetitive and time-intensive tasks
without sacrificing quality or creative control.
What do you think about that, Sean?
That's pretty impressive, but I've got a feeling, I know you pretty well, Kevin. I'm pretty sure you got more up your sleeve here.
You're not wrong, and absolutely I do. I think the power of the API is going to really be demonstrated in this next example, because I always like to go one step farther. So the same script, the same text, what I've done is I've taken the audio and I've translated that using the previous service that you just saw. So I'm going to run the reel again, but this time it's going to be in different languages. Watch the tonality of the presenters, which were virtual. Let's run the reel.
to help creative teams to meet content needs at scale,
Adobe Firefly Service ofrece una potente colección de más de 30 API creativas y de 40 संग्रह प्रदान करता
जो
है
Adobe के AI को सीधे content production workflows में lavoro di produzione dei contenuti. Le aziende possono ora automatizzare le attività ripetitive intensive Aufgaben automatisieren.
ohne Abstriche bei Qualität ou le contrôle créatif.
There you go,
Okay.
Sean. I always like to go one
Okay.
step bigger. What do you think?
No, you got me. That's pretty amazing. So then from your perspective, how is generative AI changing the economics of content creation then?
Oh, it's going to help customers move faster, meet that insatiable demand of content. But we believe that Firefly and the Firefly services were built to meet the needs of these modern marketing and business teams. They give companies a way to tap into the efficiencies of generative AI without compromising on the brand consistency or the quality. What this means is faster production time, more opportunities for personalization, and the ability to refresh content more frequently, all of which drives stronger engagement and measurable impact. Additionally, they also free up additional internal teams, agency partners, allowed to focus on higher value creative work that really differentiates the brand. And because it's built on Adobe industry leading creative technology, teams can make it easy to get to that final edit and refinements right from the creative tools that they're used to and use every single day to ensure everything meets the highest quality standards that both the creative and the brand expect. So whether it's creating scalable campaigns or accelerating productions or even empowering teams, we think that Firefly and Firefly services are really built to meet those challenges head on. And with that, I'm going to land it back to you, Sean.
All right. Well, I do want to, I know we're getting close on time, so I do want to kind of have kind of a wrap up here, but there's a ton of generative tools out there, but not all of them are built with business in mind. So just to kind of wrap up our conversation, what sets Firefly and Firefly services apart?
I think it's the ability to have these tools and technologies, integrated with the creative workflows, right? So you have generative AI built directly in. It's safe for commercial use, so you have high degree of confidence that content can be used, whether it's an effect like I showed you earlier, or B-roll content, or even the text to voice. It's all on the same umbrella that it's safe for commercial use, and you can do that knowing with very high confidence. It helps reduce the repetitive work that I talked about before, things like localization or reframing video, and it helps streamline the end-to-end production workflows, through things like pre-visualization, but also cuts down on that risk factor of expanding costs and budget due to delays. And finally, I think maintaining quality and control, not just for the creative, but also for the brand, is paramount.
Well, Kevin, as always, you've shared such amazing information. And I'd love to bring you back in just a moment to answer some of the questions that we have in our audience. But before we get to that, so Kevin, we'll see you in just a minute. Before we get to that, though, I'd like to check in with you, our audience, to get a sense of how you're feeling about the content we've shared with you today. So in a moment, and maybe even now, a poll will appear on your screen, short and sweet, just one question to help our Adobe team gauge how we can help your team get started with Firefly. So it should pop up on the screen. Feel free to throw that in there. And yeah, that will really help our team kind of gauge where we're at with this conversation, because we want to get content that you're interested in, and we want to get services that'll help you scale your stuff up. So I'd love to jump over to Q&A while everyone's kind of taking their poll. So we'll get Kevin back out here. And yeah, let's ask some questions. So I've got one in here. I know we don't have a crazy amount of time, but Ray asked, does the language API cover regional accents, such as Quebec French? Oh, Quebec French versus French French, or Mexican versus Spain or Spanish? That's actually a really great question.
It is, and as a Canadian, I can actually tell you it does. And so we have multiple dialects in English, in French, Spanish, and Portuguese, among others. But you will see in the Translate API, it also supports sometimes up to 4. In English, there's I think 4. In Portuguese, I think there's 3, and in Spanish, there's 2 or 3 as well. So yes, we do support that, and the differences between the regionals, like French in France versus French in Quebec, is notable, and we do support that.
Amazing. All right, and one more question. I think it'll be your last question. Jasmine asked, at some point, will we have the ability to generate branded products, or will they always be generic products?
Oh, that's a great question, Jasmine. So Adobe has something called the custom models, and the custom models allow organizations to train on imagery, on IP, on your brand policies. And what that will allow you to do is generate your assets, inside the generative model, so that while we don't train on those assets, you can use that custom model in concert with the foundational models that Adobe brings to the market. So yes, we can support that through the custom model architecture.
Amazing. Well, those are some amazing questions. Again, there's that the questions tab if you want to expand on this beyond our session. But with that, that's actually all the time we have for today's session. So I do want to thank once again Kevin for joining us. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Thank you, Sean.
Absolutely. So as we've seen today, generative AI is a strategic enabler. By bringing Firefly into your video workflow, you can move faster, align stakeholders earlier, and scale campaigns more efficiently across channels and markets. Whether you're looking to reduce production costs, speed up approvals, or unlock more creative possibilities, Adobe Firefly empowers your team to deliver impactful content without compromise. Now's the time to rethink how you bring your ideas to life. Let's create smarter, iterate faster, refine with purpose, and scale with ease. Check out the resources tab in the toolbar below for more information. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you later.